This conference will now be recorded.
So guys, anybody have any questions regarding previous session? Okay, great. So hope you gone through the recording session. So I shared the recording session also. So in the last session we discussed about how to create a hello world kind of program, and then how to debug it, how to run the program. I mean how to deploy your application. So when you're trying to deploy it, where it will get deployed, and then how to test with that application, the response and all, and how to see the step by step. So what are all the things you are getting, so when you're trying to hit the request. So we seen that one. So can you see the diagram, guys? Mule message structure. See, if you see here, so there is a message structure object. Okay, so yesterday we discussed about that. So there is a message is a super object in MuleSoft, like how object is a super class in Java. Similar manner here, message object is super object in MuleSoft. If you see under message object, we have multiple things. Header. Under the header again we have inbound properties and outbound properties. Okay, and then there is a payload. So yesterday we seen this one. So how to get the payload? So when the user sorry, we didn't see the payload actually. So we seen only the get request we seen, but we seen the null payload. We'll see that today, how to get the payload from the user perspective. So we seen only get method. Let's see the post method also, and then we seen the empty inbound properties, outbound properties, right, in the debug mode. And then apart from that, you can see this is also part of the message object only. If you see attachment, variable, and then exception, payload, all are under message object only. Hope you guys are clear. So this is the message structure. So these are all the message. I mean, you can get message dot something like that. Okay, so because under message these things are there: payload, headers, and then attachment, variable, exception, payload, all these things. So let's see the post request. So you guys are clear, right, about HTTP methods I'm talking about. So if you see here, so these are all the HTTP methods, guys. These many methods it will support: get to, post to, put to, patch to, delete. Most of the frequently used HTTP methods are get to, post to, put to, patch to, delete. Okay, these are all the frequently used methods. And then yesterday we seen the get. Get you can see through browser also. Why? Because we are not passing any information, right? So if you're passing some information, we need some, I mean, we need some facility to post the data, but here I can't able to post the data, right, through browser. So that's why, so there is a plugins are available in the market, guys. If you see, there is a, um, for Chrome, there is a Postman client is a plugin. If you go for apps in the Chrome, I added as a Postman client. So this is exclusively for REST, guys. There is a different clients, different vendors are there, different third-party plugins are there. So one of the plugin is Postman client. Okay, so you can add REST client, Postman client. There is a SOAP UI. Through SOAP UI also we can send the REST request actually, right? So when you're trying to add it, so it will appear here in the apps, Chrome apps. If not, so then try to add in your mission. So Chrome plugin for Postman client for Chrome plugin, just search like this. So okay, so once get it, just add it. So there as you can see this. So just add it. Here is the thing. We can add it. So once you add it, it will appear in the apps. Okay, click on that, click on the Postman client. It will open like this, guys. Okay, so through this we can send the post request. Okay, let's see. So what it will happen when you try to post the request. I'm just holding the payload here. So same yesterday app only, I'm trying to modify it. So that's a today demo, and then I'm just so here is the payload, right? I'm just give it manual. I mean, some more information. I'm trying to add it for identification purpose. Input payload I'm putting. Let's say hard coded, right? I'm just hard coded input payload. Whatever you put it here, it will, as it is, it will display. So then this is a dynamic one, right? So you can see this control space bar, it will show the suggestions, then select one of them, right? I just get the payload, and then in the next response also I'm trying to display it. I mean in the log. Okay. And then HTTP method also, mm, I'm just keeping post because we are expecting a post. So I told you yesterday, if we restrict now, so it will allow only that type of method, right? So if you not restrict it, so it will allow any type of method. Go ahead.
By default, this is a get method or previously we didn't give any
By
method name, right?
by default, nothing will be there. Empty will be there. It will allow any type of method. If you restrict it now, so whatever you put it, it will allow only that method. By default, empty will be there. I told you right yesterday, it's an optional parameter.
Okay.
You clear, right? Okay. I'm just running, guys, this one. So right click here, and then we'll see the debug mode only. Debug as Mule application. Okay, it's get deployed. Let's try to post through Postman. I'm just taking plus symbol here. So choose post here because it's a post request, and then HTTP localhost 081 slash demo. No, what was the path? Slash demo. And then we have to pass the body, right? Because it's a post request, it will expect some body. So choose the raw here. Okay, here is the text area, it will come. Then we'll try to post it. I'm just taking some data for posting. I will try to post this. I just want to post a JSON data. I'll just select the JSON. Here is the drop down, guys. Whatever the format you want to send it, so you can choose that you can send it. Okay, I just select this JSON data and then click the request. I got the request. Observe here, guys. You are trying to post the data. Which format? It's a JSON format. Let's see the data here. So earlier you can see payload is an empty yesterday example. So now, so there is a some buffer input stream. You can see clearly, right? You are getting some buffer input stream. So means I can't able to see the data. It's coming like a so some object, glassfish grizzly utils dot buffer input stream object. So the problem is here. So the HTTP connector behavior, whatever that you are trying to post it, if it is passed through HTTP connector, so it becomes an object actually. It becomes a buffer input stream object. Whatever the data you are passing, so it will convert into the buffer input stream object. So as a developer, so you need to convert it so readable format, and then accordingly we have to use it, right? So we have to transform the data, right? Once you are getting the data, so based on your business requirement, you have to read the data and then we have to transform it accordingly, right? If you want to read it, or else if you want to transform it, then you have to convert that object into normal format, right? So for this conversion, so I'll just next level also we'll see. If you see here, still it is in the form of buffer input stream only. Even payload here, if we try to see the payload here, still it is in the form of, okay, in the debug mode, see, you can see it here clearly. Okay, so there is a, if you want to see the data, so you can convert it and you can see it, guys. Let me check message dot payload as, okay, I'm trying to convert into string format. On fly I'm trying to do it, guys. Java.lang.string. You are aware about this, right? Okay, you can see it here. So earlier, if you see, I'll just control X, I'm doing. Okay, it's become a string, but still it is in the form of object only, right? Oh, sorry, string only. You can see it is java.lang.string, but if it is C, it seems like a string, but it is in the form of buffer input stream only. So means we need to typecast it, so or else we need to convert into the normal format. So for that, so you guys are aware about this x plus y equal to question mark, right? So yesterday we discussed, right, this so you can prepare the syntax on fly using this, and then the two step by step you can see what data you are getting, so right, that kind of thing you can just check it. Right, this is a x plus y equal to question mark is nothing but evaluate Mule expression language. So you can prepare the syntax, you can copy paste it, and you can keep the in the components, right? And then you can see what data you are getting, that kind of things you can see it. And then what we'll do, so we need to typecast it. So let's see, let's search for a component, what we'll do. So there is a object to string is a component, guys. You can see there's one of the transformer. Let me drag and drop the transformer here. Okay, let's see. I'm just stop it. So now you can see it, guys. Can you see? So whatever the data is sending from the user, or that's from the input consumer, I can see the data actually. Earlier if you see, so that is in the form of buffer input stream. Now we can see the human readable format, that is a string format, you can see clearly. If you try to check in the evaluate expression also, I'm just typing payload here, you can see the data. So if you see, I didn't write any code, guys. I just use the existing drag and drop component, which is already built by MuleSoft. I just drag and drop the object string component. It's nothing but a transformer. It will take care and it will convert into the JSON format. I mean, so string format, human readable format, and it was giving us, right? Let's see the next step is, so the payload, right? It should hold the payload. finally I'm trying to display it. You can see in the postman, you can see clearly, observe here how much time it was taking, it will display it. So you can see the 200 is the status code, 200 is the status code, and then how much time it was taking to display it, right, to perform that operation. So whatever you're passing, so that information you are trying to get it. So any questions on this? Okay. So let's try to read the data. So in that query parameters and I'll see one by one. See, in this particular case, we are getting an empty query parameters, right? We are not passing any query parameters. If you see here, just as it is, I'm passing. I'm not adding any URI parameters or this query parameters kind of thing. Let's try to see that one. And then suppose in this particular case, if you want to read the data, what we'll do? So I'm not reading any data here, right? I'm just trying to convert it, right? If you want to read the data also, let me try to use the transform also here. So you can avoid this object2.string guys. So then there is a transform also there here. Use the transform here. So most of the things, so you can utilize the transform guys, because why? Because in 4.0, so for everything, MuleSoft is suggesting use the transform. Okay, so that's why. So you guys try to familiar with the transform. So transform is, it's a actually earlier there is a concept called data mapper guys. The advantage of transformer, two advantages. One is whatever the data we are getting, it will try to convert it. Now we seen, right? It was trying to convert into buffer input stream to string, right? So these kind of conversions we can do, we can achieve through transform also. Apart from that, if you see whatever the format you are expecting in output, like application slash Java, application slash JSON, XML, CSV. So these kind of things we can achieve through this transform also. That is one thing. And then second thing is, if the user is trying to post the data like this, right? Or else or else consumer. If you see here called ID equals something, palette code is something, facility ID equals something like that, right? So they want to insert this data into database, right? If it is like that, so there is a two individual system, right? Database is some other system, and then mm, whatever the front end is here, right? Here, think like, hey, this is nothing but a front end, guys. Hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. So this is nothing but a front end here. Why? Because so generally once you done end to end, we'll test it, right? There is the front end guy should be there. So when you're trying to use interface from front end interface, you will fill the data, and then whenever he is trying to submit the button, so we'll receive that payload. But here there is no front end, right? So how will test it? Your application is working fine or not? Your API is working fine or not? So this is the way you test it, right? This is nothing but a front end for us, right? But once you done everything, so I mean, there's a from front end, back end, all these things, right? So everybody will come into the picture. So that time end to end we have to test it. But so as of now, as a Mule developer, so generally I will give the see, as a middleware guy, you have to face some challenges, guys. So like I will give the one or two scenarios, which kind of challenges you are facing, you will be faced. See, generally, when you are trying to implement an API, right, first challenge is how you test your application. So, is that whatever you implemented API, so is that working as expected behavior or not, right? So, for testing purpose, perspective, if you see here, these kind of third-party plugins, we have to add it, we have to use it, we have to test it. See, generally, if you see my payload is there is a ID called something, palette code is something. You are sending this much of JSON, this much of JSON. See, if you see originally, this data coming from where? From the front end. So they have to design their interface, right? So the end user, so he's trying to log in into that their front end system. Then he's trying to fill the data, whatever the mandatory fields, whatever the optional fields, these kind of things, right? So generally people will prefer to fill only mandatory fields. We will ignore it, right? Generally it's a human mentality. Suppose if you are giving some login page, boss, you have to fill these 20 fields or 30 fields. Nobody filled it, right? So generally you will fill only I mean limited fields, actually 5 10 fields. People prefer to fill it. So that is nothing but a mandatory fields actually. But as of now, if you see, I'm sending, so for testing my application, I'm sending these much parameters, right? So that is the first thing actually. Even front end is not yet ready, you have to test your application. That is one challenge. Another challenge is even the backend is not yet ready, right? Where the middleware people, the front end system should be there, and the backend system should be there. Suppose you are trying to post this data. So where you are trying to insert it, where you are going to push this data into target system I'm talking about. So suppose the target system is not yet ready, what you'll do? So as a developer, we should not stop your you should not stop your execution actually. So that's what I'm trying to highlight. So as a mock table, suppose they want to insert this data into one of the database, right? So what you can do is you can install, I mean at your local machine at least, you can create some mock table. Okay, so like suppose I want to insert this order. Suppose think like this is an order, right? So this order table you have to create at your local, or else at your setup, on premises setup. Then you have to create a mock-up table. Then you have to insert your data into that table, right? Till that whatever the backend system is ready. So originally, so some other team will take it to create a the table, order table, and they will provide us. Similarly from front end also, so once the interface is ready, so that time we'll get this all these data. But what we are doing here, so our assumption, so if the backend system is there, so then think it and create a markup table and then dump the data into markup table. If this is working, so when the backend system is ready, up and running, so then that time we'll point to the original one, we'll check it. So these kind of challenges we'll face it, guys. Hope you are clear what I'm trying to say. So the front end won't be there and back end won't be there, but you should finish your API actually. So that's the thing I'm trying to highlight. And then what we are doing here, so there is a transform. The first advantage of the transform the data, guys. That's the main advantage. The second advantage is here, if you see, you are sending something like field names like a ID, palette code, facility ID, something like that, right? But whereas in, so this is a different system, the backend. So whatever you are trying to post the data, that is a different system. Whatever you are getting the data, that is a different system, right? So even so, if you are aware it, they don't know each other. Am I correct, right? So they don't know each other because they're aware about the only MuleSoft. So this front end guy, so think like this. This is a front end guy. He knows about the MuleSoft. I'm going to hit the request to MuleSoft. That's all. So, but he don't know where is the database, where he is storing that kind of things, right? So that even the database also, backend also, he is aware about the MuleSoft. He don't know about that front end who is trying to post the data and all. So now if you see only one input, one client, maybe in future several clients, right? So the hundreds of clients. So because whatever you are going to implement an API, it should be generic manner you have to implement it, right? So now we implemented for 100 clients. Think like this, 100 clients. Tomorrow one more client come into the picture, right? So that should, whatever you implemented API, that API should support to one not one the client also. Accordingly, we have to manipulate it, your API actually. So that's why we have to implement our generic API. Suppose, for example, I implemented one API for one of the organization, think like that, one of the organization. right? Or else one of the hospital, think like this. So in world or else in India or else many hospitals are there, right? I implemented one patient information, patient information getting API implemented, right? So that is working fine. Tomorrow one more hospital will come into the picture, boss, I want your service, right? So then what you need to do, so you have to implement accordingly the next hospital also, right? Tomorrow one more hospital will come to the picture, like that. So you can improve your clients actually accordingly, right? So that time, so your generic API should support all the all the hospitals, so like that. So that kind of thing also will face a challenges, like suppose here you implemented this service for one of the hospital, right? So the hospital may consent so the JSON data, right? So tomorrow one more hospital will come and ask, boss, I can send only XML because I have some restrictions my front end. Okay, so that time, so as a middleware guy, we should not restrict it. We should expect the business and we should allow the business. We should not restrict it, right? It's a business. End of the day, finance thing is the matter, right? We should not restrict it so that, so your original API is expecting a JSON format, but so the next client is saying, boss, I have my own restrictions. I can send only XML format. So these kind of things, this is the advantage. I mean, this is the data wave is the place where we transform the data. So once you get the data, so in the XML format, you can convert into JSON application slash JSON. So for that input as a XML, then output as a JSON. Once you convert into the output as a JSON, so then your original API is anyway expecting a JSON. So then pass the data, whatever you converted, pass the data to original API, or else try to consume your API only. Whatever the MuleSoft implemented a REST API, so try to consume your API only. So then pass this data, whatever the JSON converted data, and then it will receive it and it will execute it, right? So that, so whatever, so these are different layers are there, guys. That's what I'm trying to highlight in the previous sessions. There is a experience API, process API, and system API. Experience API will tell us, so these kind of scenarios, actually one client is sending JSON, another client is sending some XML. So these kind of migration, this kind of conversion will do in the experience API, so that the process API. So process API is nothing but I will write only business logic. So the business logic will be common for all the things, but only the data formats are different, right? So maybe one worst case is like, suppose one guy is coming and asks, so boss, I can send a limited information, but as a middleware guy, you have to fetch some more information based on the existing data. Suppose if you want to create a some order, right? So if you want to create an order, so you need some 10 fields, think like this. So you have to get some 10 fields from the user perspective. So then based on that, you are going to create an order in the backend. Suppose the front end guy is saying, boss, I can't able to send that much information, I can send limited information. So based on that, you will go and talk to my database or else somewhere else, get the information and enrich the existing information whatever I'm trying to pass it, and then create an order. So that way, so the chances also will be there, right? So that what we can do is, so you will get limited information on fly. So based on the whatever he is sending the data, we'll talk to somewhere else like the database, or else they exposed as a REST API. So Mule will consume the REST API for remaining information. Once we'll get that information, we'll enrich that one existing information, we'll pass it actually. So these kind of challenges also we have to face it. Okay, so coming back to here, I'm trying to say about transform thing. So the first advantage is it will convert into whatever the format we are expecting, it will convert into that format. So the next thing is, if you see here, I'm talking about again, so it's a different systems, right? So they don't know about each other, and then the field names are different. That's what I'm trying to highlight. So if you see here ID is there. Maybe in the back end, you're going to insert into target system, right? Maybe in the back end, so it's nothing but a order ID will be there. If suppose here palette code, So something like that palette is there in the backend, right? The field names are vary. So in this case, so you can use this transform, right? Whatever the data you are getting, so we can receive it, and then can we can map it accordingly. In this id is mapped to that order id, palette underscore code is mapped to palette, then facility id is mapped to just facility, like that. So so the backend guy will share boss, these are my fields. The front end guy also will share, so these are the fields. So what you can do is you can map it associated, right? So that way how to do can achieve the things in data web. There are two advantages. One is it will transform the data. Another one is you can map the data accordingly, right? So if I'm just giving the background of the transform, actually it's not a MuleSoft product, guys. There's a transform or else data web. So earlier MuleSoft have there is a concept called data mapper. There is a concept called data mapper, right? If you try to search also transform only coming here, you can observe. So earlier there is a concept called data mapper in the older version. So now, so there is an issue with the data mapper. There is a performance issue hitting. So that's why, so this is introduced by some other company. The transform message introduced by some other company. So what MuleSoft did, MuleSoft get that, acquired that the transform thing actually. So then they introduced their palette, this transform or else data wave. If you try to search for data wave, right, in the palette or else transform or else whatever the things, right? If you try to search for data mapper also, that will appear actually, right? Hope you guys are clear. So there is a transform. Mm, yeah, I'm trying to convert into the payload in the form of Java object, guys. Let's see. So our intention is we need to try to read the data, right? Guys, so may I know who is for waiting for name? Can you name it? Guys, can you hear me?
Sitaram. Yeah.
You joined twice, huh?
No network problem. That's why I'm on connecting mobile.
Can I kill that one of that?
Yeah.
But you are seeing screen in browser, I mean laptop, huh?
No, mobile.
Mobile only. No? I'm just killing one of that,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so then, okay, I'm trying to read the data. That's what our intention here. Let's try to save this. Guys, try to observe it. I'm not redeploying it, automatically get redeployed. So that was the option I was explaining earlier. In the mule deployed or properties, you can see this redeployment enabled true, right? So that's why when you're trying to change something and then, so when you save it, automatically get redeployed. Okay, you can see this started app is today demo. Earlier, if you see, if you deploy it, the status it will show, right? The status, app name, domain name, all these things it will show us. But if we redeploy it, so it will show like this started app. If any issue is there, then it will show the failed here and exception also. So let's try to post the data now. I'm trying to post this. I got the request. Let's see. Now see, observe here, guys. Earlier it's a string format, right? We seen object or string, and then before that also, if you see, I'm just keep a debug here. Let's try to check the data on, I mean, each component, what was the format it is. Let's try to post again. Now see the data, guys. See the data. Still it is in a buffer input stream, right? Because I'm not at a transform it, right? In the transform, what we are trying to do it, we are trying to convert into the Java format, right? Java object. It's nothing but a linked hash map. It's a Java object only, guys, linked hash map, right? You can see this, I mean, hash map, I mean, key value pair kind of thing. It's a map object, right? So let's try to check in the evaluator payload. You can see the two objects, expand this one. The first object is this and the second object is this. I'm just expanding one more level. So data, right here, result. It's a map object, right? How map will behave. It's a key value pair, right? If you pass a key, you will get a value. Let's see how to get this data. If you search for the payload, if you hit for the payload, we'll get it two objects. So I want to get first object. How to get it? See, payload of 0. Payload of 0. Maybe single quote here. Or else you can directly pass the key, I guess. See, payload dot data. You have to pass the key here, right? You can see the data. If you see the data, uh, from there, we'll try to fetch one of the value if you want ID. No 0. And then one of the value will say, you can see it. So the ID, right? So ID. So this way we have to, if you see, I'm trying to frame the syntax, guys. You're getting right. That is the advantage of this pop-up actually. You will try to prepare a syntax here and then same syntax you can use in the component. If you see here, there's a mel expression preparation actually. I mean, if you are not aware about the directly, you will go and write in the component, and then if you give some mistake, it will give error. But here on fly, you can prepare the syntax. You can take this syntax and keep into the component actually. That was the usage, right? So this is a way to read the data. If you see, if you're trying to convert into the map, that is that is easy to read the data. If you can pass the key, then you can get the values, right? So that's why I told you the favorite MuleSoft Java object is nothing but a map. So people are always trying to convert into the map object, I mean Java object, so that you can readability is easy actually. You can easily read it, right? Hope you guys are clear. This is a way we have to read the JSON object, I mean Java object. So I'm getting as a JSON, I'm trying to convert into the using transform. I'm trying to convert into the Java format. You can see this as it is. I'm passing the payload, guys. Observe here, this is a data wave syntaxes, guys. So the data wave, the version is 1.0, and then output it will ask actually what was the format you are expecting. So then it will convert accordingly. Then payload is nothing but what? So whatever the payload that after a HTTP connector, if you see, we are getting like a buffer input stream kind of thing, right? The buffer input stream kind of thing I'm trying to pass to the transform. So then so this transform will take it to convert into the Java object. If you see here, nowhere I'm not writing any code, guys. I'm just drag and drop the things. Go ahead.
Venkat, if you want the write the behalf of the application dot slash Java, we can use the XML and other formats, right? In the message
Exactly.
transform message only.
That's what I'm trying to say, right? If you see here, it will support these many formats, guys. If you see here, MIME types here, these many formats it will support. Application slash CSV, JSON, PDF, whatever the format you are expecting, it will support. And then I'm trying to highlight, if you see nowhere I'm written the code, right? I'm just choosing the component, I'm just configure it accordingly. Yeah, go ahead if you have any other
Yeah,
question.
you saying that how to map, for example, without input and our client is expecting something, right? For example, we are getting the some data from the inbound, we are providing the data in outbound. In
Hmm.
middleware, we need to map the data, right?
Hmm.
Based on that requirement. Okay, where we can the map the data? For
In the
example, user is asked in the transform only, right? For
hmm.
example, in the input we have the only 10 fields.
Hmm.
The client is expecting 15 fields like that. We need to add the first field and second field as 11th field. Okay, where we can map the data. For example, input field is the ID.
Uh,
In the user expecting the behalf of the ID is a user ID.
hmm.
Where we can map this IDs and everything fields.
So here only we'll map it, guys. Here, generally it will come like this. Okay.
Okay.
Suppose here, so whatever you are giving left side, it is nothing but a target system. Okay, that is nothing but I'm just keeping like order underscore ID. Whatever the syntax I prepared, right? I'm just pasting here. Okay, so now we can see it here. You are getting as an ID, but output what you are giving, order ID you are giving. So this way, one by one field you can do it. Multiple fields like this. You are
Is
expecting this one, right?
we need to do the manual, or is there any way to map drag and
Drag
drop
and
functionality?
drag and drop feature also there. That time you should aware about the what was the input format, what was the output format. Then accordingly we can map it. There is a feature
Okay.
is there. So that we have a separate session on the transform. Just we are seeing only basics on the transform. We have a separate session, deep level session on this transform. That time I will show you drag and drop also. So suppose if you have some hundreds or 150 fields, the manually it will take a lot of time to type like this, right? Payload dot data
Yes.
of zero,
Yes.
something like
Yes.
that. So then that time so here is the left side will get an input, right side will get an output. So means as a middleware, you should aware it what is the input, what is the output, right? So accordingly, we can drag and we can see the here there is a, I mean, you can read it, right? Drag and drop fields to build the transaction. There
Okay.
is a feature is there. We'll discuss that time. Almost one separate session is there for transformation. So not only this, more advantages are there. Transform will highlight that all these things.
Okay. In
Okay.
MuleSoft, the transfer message is very important, right?
Yes,
Everything in the
exactly.
under transfer message
Exactly.
only.
Exactly. That's what I trying to highlight, right? So in the 4.0 also most of the things. So so we have a in 3.9 we have a transformers, right? Like if you say yesterday we seen the transformers. These are all the many transformers actually. So these are the transformers. Just now we seen object to string also. There's one of the transform, right? So we can avoid all these transformers directly. We can use a transform. That is nothing but a data wave. We can use it for every typecasting, for every conversion. Okay.
Okay.
So any other question?
No. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, Venkat. One more thing. Do you have any PDF or Word document for this information? Like if you want in future, we give the interview, right? We are, never give the 100% answer in a text wise.
Yeah, yeah. So end of this session, I will share you the documentation over. You can see it just now. We add a order ID, right? You can see now it's coming like a key value pair. I'm just showing that one. So you can see it now. So only order ID. So the if you see here, I'm getting like a ID as a input, but I'm trying to assign to the order ID because the target system is expecting an order ID. So I'm taking our ID, I'm trying to assign to the order ID, and then I'm giving to the next level. Okay. So that is about that how to read the data from the client perspective. Okay, you can see the input payload is order ID equal this. If you see here user is passing as an ID, I mean consumer is passing as an ID. I'm trying to assign to the order ID because of the target system expected order ID. So
The
hope you guys,
the ID is the input and output is the order ID, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that is a way to read that. So let's quickly see uh, one more thing we'll read. I'm trying to pass the query parameter, guys. Some name equal. I'm just passing as a mule. Okay, let's see how to read this query parameter. This is nothing of query parameter, right? So anybody don't know about what is meant by query parameter? There's a question mark represent the query parameter here. Name. If you want to pass multiple query parameters also, ampersand you can keep it and then we can send that, right? Hope you guys are aware about the query parameters. It's a part of the URL, guys. Okay, so if the consumer is trying, so suppose Mule is expecting the query parameters, the consumer is trying to fill that query parameters and is trying to send it, but how to read in Mule? So we seen how to how to read the body. So now how to read the query parameters, we'll see. Let's try to post. Before that, I'm trying to deploy this one. Okay, I'm trying to post now. Let's see. So I shown you right yesterday, so where you can see the query parameters. So it's a part of the inbound properties, right? According to our structure, we see in the sample structure, right? Where is this? Yeah. So it's a part of the header. You can see clearly inbound property, right? Let's see. So here is the thing, right? In the inbound properties, you can see the headers. I mean query parameters. You can see clearly the size is 2. What are the things we are getting? Here password, here name. Let's try to read on fly. I'm trying to write the syntax here in the mail expression. So first one is what? That's a part of the message I told you, right? So message dot inbound properties dot. So next one is what, guys? Within single quotes we have to write it. Name. Let's see the first, what are the input parameters we are getting. These many parameters are getting, guys. Then after that, our intention is we have to get the HTTP query params. Where is this? Let me type it. Dot within, yeah, within single quotes we have to pass it. HTTP dot query dot params. You can see the 2 params, okay, and then I want to fetch only name. Okay, you can see now. This is a way to read the query parameters, guys. It should be in the form of mel expression. So next session we'll discuss about the completely mel expression, guys. So you guys should familiar with this syntaxes and all. So this is a mel expression, mule evaluate expression, right? Mule expression language. So the message I told you, so it's a part of inbound properties is a part of the message object. So that message dot inbound properties dot. In the inbound properties, if you see, so these many inbound properties you are getting, right? Almost 22 inbound properties you are getting. So out of 22 inbound properties, I want get only HTTP query params. So HTTP query params is the part of the inbound properties, and then the two HTTP query parameters I'm getting multiple things, but I want to only name from the HTTP query parameters. So this is a way to write the syntax to get the particular query parameter. So similarly, if you want to get the other query parameters, so give the associated name. So then we'll get that one also. Okay, so any doubts on this? So two things we seen today: how to read the data from the payload, then how to read the query parameters. Please try to practice it after sharing this recording. So please go through it and play with the debug mode. So you guys should familiar with the debug mode. Actually, as a developer, always run your application in a debug mode and see the step by step what are the things we are getting, what are the formats we are getting, how it get changed into next format, how to read the data. So these are the things we have to do it, right? It's kind of a donkey kind of work. Actually, we have to read the data, we have to transform the data, we have to sometimes we have to filter the data, so not that we seen actually. So we need to see, like, suppose I'm getting a different types of orders, but I want to see only posted orders, right? Out of cancel order, something like that. Active orders, I want to see only posted orders. That time, you have to filter it, right? So these kind of things will come into the picture. So go ahead, somebody enable the audio. So any questions?
Yeah, yeah, Venkat. After giving this total output, how the people will take the as a the flow diagram or any in background query the coding.
No, no, it depends on the requirement, business logic. Here I'm not doing anything. I'm just logging, right? I'm just
Okay,
logging the response. But originally, the business logic, maybe they want to insert into the DB, or else they want to create, suppose there is a SFDC integration. So once you prepare that payload in the JSON format, whatever it is, so you have to try to establish the connection between MuleSoft and Salesforce first, and then try to create an order on the Salesforce. It depends on the business logic. But as of now, here we just we're trying to read the data, so from the consumer, right? We are trying to read it and we are just holding the data. Next step is the target system will come into the picture what they want. So based on the business logic, either they want to dump into the DB, or else they want to integrate into some other mission, some other system, that we have to write the code. So that is not right.
okay.
So that's all, guys, today. If you have any questions you can ask, or else we'll wind up the session today.
From my side, no, Venkat.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. So we'll meet on Monday.
Sure, thank you.